You are listening to your new Puppies podcast, starting you and your dog off on the right paw. Here's your host, Debbie Salento.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Your New Puppies podcast. I'm Debbie, and today we're going to talk about digging, why dogs dig, and some things we can do to help. So if your dog is making craters in your backyard, if it looks like maybe somebody's been digging for gold, you are not alone, my friend. In fact, digging is one of the top training questions out there. According to Google, it's one of the most top dog training subjects. And there's a reason why it's so common and it's so hard to stop, is because digging is just one of those things that dogs love to do. It is in their DNA. They love doing it. It's satisfying to them. It's natural for them. And they don't really understand the appeal of a nice, lush green yard. Because it's so natural for them, it's also very hard to get them to stop, especially if you want to get them to stop completely. I do have a few things that are going to help, a few suggestions for you to try. But unfortunately, there's no real magical cure to this one. I've seen people suggest, bury their poop where they're digging because they'll stop, or put fencing down, or bury rocks because then it stops the actual digging. But what's going to happen is your dog's just going to turn and find somewhere else to dig eventually. So we actually have to look at the dog and try to stop the actual behavior, which if you have a puppy, if you have a new dog, we're going to try to nip this in the bud. It's going to be easier to prevent this. But don't worry, if you already have a dog, if your backyard already looks like Swiss cheese, I'm going to try to help you out. Because just like any behavior, the more they do it, the more it becomes a habit, and then the harder it is to get them to stop. So to know what's going to actually help, we first have to look at, why is your dog digging, your specific dog? The most common reasons are boredom, or to release energy, or to simply entertain themselves. They could also be trying to cool down because that dirt underneath is just so much cooler. So if you've ever seen a dog dig a hole and then lay in it, that's usually what they're doing. They could also smell something. If you have a hound that likes to sniff the ground and then all of a sudden dig, they're probably smelling something out. And in the same line, they could be chasing an animal. If an animal runs into their den and there's already a hole there, and you have a dog with a high prey drive, a dog that likes to chase animals, they might start digging out to try to get to that animal. So we're going to start with my favorite solution. It's the one I use. I think it's the easiest, but it doesn't work for everybody, and I understand that. Because it's one of those behaviors that dogs just want to do. It's just in their DNA. So if they're already starting to dig, it's going to be hard to get them to stop because they have already discovered the joy of it. Is instead of getting them to stop digging, let's give them a place that they're allowed to dig. So we're just redirecting them instead of trying to stop it. So you can get an actual sandbox if you want. You can maybe just section off a part of your yard. Maybe you line it with wood or a little bit of a fencing, but your dog can still get in there. And you kind of loosen up the dirt in there, and they're allowed to dig there. And what you can do is every time they dig somewhere else, you redirect them to this spot. Right? And you bury their toys in there, and you bury sticks in there. You bury things that they love, and they're going to be able to find all these treasures and encourage them to dig in this one spot. I've mentioned before, if you've listened to prior episodes, that I live on what used to be a farm. So it's a dog digging heaven. It's a nice, soft dirt. There are no rocks because all the rocks were taken out of it a long time ago. And so, all they have to do is get under the grass a little bit and forget it. So I do have these spots that the dogs are allowed to dig, but I have different dogs coming in and out of my house. They're not all trained that way. My biggest offense is supervision. If the dogs are outside, I'm outside. So the only way I'm really able to keep this problem under control is because I'm always there. I'm always right there. When the dog starts to dig, I stop them. When I see that, look in their eye, when they're sniffing the ground, I know to distract them or stop them from the behavior. And that's really the only 100% way you're going to stop them from digging completely, is you have to be there before they even start to dig and catch them before they even start the behavior. And I know that's not the answer you want. It takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of time. So if you don't have the option to make a sandbox or make a section of the yard, if that just doesn't work for you or it's just something you don't want to do, I understand. So we have to go back to trying to curb the behavior, trying to stop the behavior. And as I just mentioned, supervision is really the only 100% way. Also, in my experience, most of the dogs are bored or they just have all this extra energy. They want to entertain themselves, probably the combination of the three. So if we give our dog some extra exercise, because an exhausted dog or an exhausted puppy is laying out in the grass or in his bed and not digging, especially because digging does take energy from them. If they're already really tired, they're probably not digging. Also, if they're playing with you or playing with a toy, they're not digging. So add some extra entertainment. When we just put our dog out in the backyard, that fenced-in backyard seems so great for our dogs, but it can also be our worst enemy because it's so easy to just say, oh, go run around outside. But after a few minutes, especially if it's a backyard that they're in every day, if you're not out there with them, if they're not, don't have some kind of form of entertainment, they're going to find ways to entertain themselves. And I think we all know most of the time, we don't like the decisions that they make, like digging or chewing or barking. So if we're out there with them, if we're playing fetch, if they're already exhausted and tired, they're not digging. They're not making their own decisions. They're either sleeping or they're looking to you to direct their behavior. Another thing you can do, which is what I do sometimes if it's nice out, I will feed my dog. I'll take her dinner and put it in a treat ball or one of those puzzles, and I'll put her outside. And I'll throw her a treat ball outside and she'll roll it around the yard and she spends 20 minutes eating it, trying to get it out of this treat ball, and then another 20 minutes scouring the yard. So it's another way to give them something else to do, something else to entertain them, so they're not entertaining themselves by digging a hole. So that's really it. As I mentioned before, there's really no magical cure to this. It's just a behavior that's natural to the dog, but drives us nuts. It's just a perfect example of probably needing more exercise and entertainment and having to redirect the behavior, whether it's to a sandbox, whether it's to a toy, whether it's to us. And we want to try to prevent it before it starts. We don't want to wait for them to start digging and then stop them. We want to be proactive and give them something else to do before they even start to dig. And hopefully, if they're already digging, if it's already a habit, we're going to create a new habit and bring them away from it. Or if you're lucky and it's not really a habit yet and you just don't want it to start, then we're going to nip it in the bud and we're just never going to let them dig and we're going to stop it before it starts. If this was a quick and easy thing to fix, there wouldn't be so many of us with this problem. All right, so I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to your New Puppies podcast. Learn more about us at playtimepaws.com.